Every damn day.
Hey everyone, it's Jerry at the Fledge, and welcome to another episode of Every Damn Day. And today we've got our great friend Shawn, and we're going to be talking about his recovery journey and a special anniversary today, and probably one or two other things, I bet. So, how you doing today, Shawn?
Hey, I'm doing good, Jerry. I really appreciate you having me on to help me celebrate this awesome day today, man.
I think this is the longest I've ever scheduled out.
Yeah.
I think we scheduled this in March or something.
We did for sure.
So, tell us about you first.
So my name's Shawn Finnerty. I'm a nationally certified peer recovery coach here in the Lansing area. I run a hospital-based, emergency room-based, actually, intervention program called Proect ASSERT right here in Lansing, Michigan. And basically what we do is we provide resources, navigational support, and external support for people that come through the emergency room with substance use disorders. And today is my 5-year anniversary of being sober.
And that should be applause and congratulations. I
Yeah.
don't have the balloons ready.
That's why we scheduled it out so far, so that we can make sure it happened on today, and I really appreciate it. It's a cool way to celebrate.
So sometimes setting dates like that, I mean, where are you at in your recovery? I know it's 5 years, so
Yeah.
but sometimes just
So, man, I'm recovering from a lifelong addiction to alcohol, and one of the long-term effects of alcoholism is memory loss. They say it gets better over time, and it has gotten quite a bit better, but I still have to set a million alarms. I still have to write myself a 500,000 Post-it notes, and if I could afford to hire a personal assistant, I probably would. So it's tough sometimes, but yeah, I remembered this because it was pretty significant.
Yeah,
for sure.
How long was your not recovery journey?
My not recovery journey was basically my entire life. I found out more things as I've gotten older about my childhood. And, basically I found out that my mom started feeding me whiskey in a bottle when I was just a baby. But it was such a normal thing in my family to drink that it just felt normal to me for quite some time. And I started purposely drinking when I was really young, probably about 9 or 10 years old.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it just kind of followed me through my life. And then, I used to black out drunk and just think it was like, yeah, that's part of the party, man. But then as I got older, into my late 20s and my 30s, that's when I started realizing I actually had a problem, but I wasn't really ready to call it a problem yet or do anything about it. And then, once I got into my 40s, actually I was 40, when I realized, like, man, I have a serious problem. I started calculating all of the loss, the jobs, the friend, it's that typical list: the jobs, the friends, the family, the lovers, the everything. And I just started realizing that I was tired of losing all of that stuff. And that I wanted something different for myself. And I was fortunate enough to have some good people on my side. And here I am. I get to do this stuff today,
Yeah. Was there a particular moment or epiphany that, I mean, you said all the loss and you're doing those calculations,
Yeah.
but was there a certain spark that did that? Was it kind of a random little thing? Or?
Yeah, no, it was a huge thing. It goes back to loss. I spent 20 years of my adulthood out in Portland, Oregon, and I loved it out there. And it was beautiful. It was everything that I had ever hoped for. And just before I moved back here to Michigan, I literally lost everything. I lost my job. I almost lost my now husband. I lost my apartment. I lost lots of my friends, and that's what propelled me back here to Michigan, was because all of my family was here. And I knew that with the support of my family and getting out of that life that I was so used to out there, that I would be able to get sober and stay sober.
But you're in a stable partnership now?
I am.
I actually didn't know you were married.
Yeah. So we've actually been together for 12 years, and this year we'll also have been legally married for 3 years.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, he was about to dump my ass though, man.
Yeah.
He was fed up with it, and he said something, he loved me too much to just let me suffer, and he decided to support me and move back here with me, and everything went great from there. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
So yeah.
So we were on yourself, kind of talking about yourself, and I think sometimes when we talk to somebody in recovery dominates it, right?
Yeah.
Because it does dominate your feeling, probably, right?
Yeah.
You got to work a little bit every day, probably.
Yeah.
Tell us something else about you, though. Tell us something that's maybe not recovery for a minute.
So, here's the thing. Like, I love recovery. I think recovery is amazing, but I'm not much of the recovery lifestyle kind of person. Like, I don't spend all of my time in meeting. I actually do the work. That's the work that I do. But, I don't spend all my time in meetings and groups and stuff like that. It's just not me. So one of the things that I did, though, that I always wanted to do, and I just never had that motivation or that confidence, was I went back to college. Another awesome thing that's happening to me this week is I'm graduating with my bachelor's degree in social work. So yeah. So, and I just found out that I'm going to be graduating summa cum laude, which is the highest honors designation. So that's basically, one of the things that consumes most of my time is making sure that I don't screw that up.
Well, you can't screw it up.
I know. Well, I probably could, but no, man. So yeah. And then after that, I get to move on to my master's degree. And
yeah. Where are you going to school?
I'm going to Spring Arbor.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a private Christian college.
Yeah.
Which is kind of odd for me, but
is it? Are you religious?
I'm not. I'm spiritual, but I'm not a religious person. I was born and raised Catholic, but growing up that way, and then coming to terms with my own sexuality, I was like, this probably isn't the thing for me. So I just explored other spiritual options. I do still hold on to some of those Catholic things. But it's the things that made me feel good about being Catholic. Yeah. And I incorporate them into the rest of my spiritual beliefs. I'm more of a cosmic sort of guy.
Yeah, me too. Well, sometimes I don't even feel like I'm enough of that.
Right.
But, I'm definitely into nature and the universe and math and physics.
It just makes more sense to me.
So, Shannon says you're a badass. That's the only part I saw there. So
hey,
hi,
Shannon. I love Shannon.
So can we talk a little bit about maybe recovery or addiction or substance use disorder? And let's talk about the words for a little bit.
Yeah.
What are some of the words that are helpful, and what are some of the words that are not helpful?
It's funny that you would mention that, because I did my internship also with the place where I work, but we did it a little bit different than what I actually do. I actually just put together, I wrote and taught a class on person-centered language, and destigmatizing the language around substance use disorder. For me, it's pretty much a no-brainer. But I guess, I've discovered that it's not quite that for everybody. So I feel like I always have to explain it. Like, we are more than the sum of our addiction. Our addictions, while they control us for a huge part of a lot of our lives, they don't define us. That we're more than that. So when I go into a speaker meeting or something like that, which I don't do very often, but I always tell them all the cool stuff about me. You know, I'm a college student for the second time. You know, I just bought a motorcycle. I bought a house. I got all these things. And then, you know, tell them about the program. And I happen to be 5 years sober from a lifelong chronic alcoholism, you know, and then they're like, oh, wow, I didn't, you know, I can see it in their eyes that they're thinking, oh, there's more to you than just that substance use disorder that you have. And I'm a pretty big stickler on like, you know, and I know that it's also a personal preference, but I don't really like the term addicts. I don't like, and I don't like the term users. Like we have a disease, we have a brain disease. While there's no cure for it, there's a way to control it. There's a way to live our lives full, and healthier and happier.
So there's no cure for it. So I'm going to use the word alcoholic for a second. Is that okay for a second? I don't like these words either. Addiction, user, alcoholic. I do prefer substance use disorder or something similar to that.
Yeah.
I've always heard, you know, once you're addicted to alcohol, once you're an alcoholic, you're always an alcoholic. Do you believe that?
I don't. I believe that, and again, I'll use those words. Once you've experienced alcoholism, that for the rest of your life, you're going to be at risk for falling back into that pattern if you've been able to get out of it. But again, it goes back to our substance use disorder doesn't define who we are. So to tell somebody that once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic, I believe that's a lie.
There's my applause right there. I feel it takes away hope. It takes away who you could be. Yep. I mean, I think it puts constraints on people.
It does, because I mean, to me, it's a form of programming. You know, if you tell a person there's something long enough, they're going to believe that that's all they're capable of. But if you tell a person, you know, this kind of sucks and this is part of you, but all of these other things that you do are super cool. And if you keep doing those super cool things instead of that sucky thing, then you're going to be amazing.
Yeah.
You know?
Did you do a lot of like different treatments like CBT and cognitive based therapies and stuff like that, or?
You know, I didn't. Some people I'm sure lots of people will disagree with this, but I feel like I was able to get through it mostly with my own personal reflections and learning how to talk myself out of it. And also the support that I have around me. And then, you know, also I put myself out there and I started doing the work as well. So even though my sobriety is not tied to my work helps me keep sober. Through my work, I get to see other people struggle. I get to see other people that are just like me, or just like I was. And that to me is motivation, because those people need me. Those people need me, and I needed someone like me. So I don't want to let those people down. So that's a big motivation for me.
Yeah. I always, the Fledge is definitely my therapy.
Yeah.
I mean, so, you know, I lost my daughter to a fentanyl overdose.
I do.
And this is an important subject to me, no matter what the substance is.
Right.
I think there's a lot of similarities across them.
There are.
Alcoholism scares me. You've seen me drink before and all of that. And it's that I always think about the losing your, being your inhibitions, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm scared of the people that are young, that they're drinking, and then, well, I might as well try a pill. I might as well try, to shoot this up, or I might as well try to smoke this.
Right.
And I feel like alcohol is a very big, like, enabler, or what's the word they use?
A catalyst. Yeah. And actually, I don't think that that's really a true thing across the board, but I think that it really can be. And I'll use myself for an example again. Like, once I started drinking, whatever somebody laid down on the table, I was like, yeah, let's do it. It wasn't, drugs were never my Achilles heel. It was always alcohol. So, it definitely worked as a catalyst for me, but it's not true for everybody,
Did you ever go back to do you go back to that whiskey in a bottle as the cause? Was it something else, or don't you even think about it and it doesn't even matter?
I never really think too much about the cause. I think that if I had to, I would rationalize it by its being so common in my family, and something that I never really learned could become a problem. There used to be a bar called the Riverview in Old Town, and now it's a different bar. And then the Unicorn, back in the day, way back in the day. That's basically where I grew up.
Oh, really?
As a kid, yeah. And
North Side?
North Side, yeah. I mean,
Sadie Court for me.
My mom spent every single day in that bar, and so it was the life that I learned. I had a crappy childhood. I think a lot of people, have crappy childhoods. A lot of people have good childhoods. I don't really blame it on that. I don't really blame it on anything. I think of it more as like just a lack of education.
Yeah. For yourself?
And seeing it as a norm. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's see. This is probably Charla saying this, representing Moja House. Me too. I grew up at the Sammy's Club in Dagwoods.
Yeah.
Hamburger though.
Nice.
Let's talk about the work you're doing now.
Yeah, man.
And thank you for all of that. And I forgot to tell you, so you don't want to talk about something if you don't want to talk about something, by the way.
Oh no, it's cool, man. I'm pretty open about everything. So the work that I do now, so the whole reason why I went back to school is to become a social worker, so that way I can work with substance use disorder. I didn't realize it before, but I feel like even if I weren't a person in recovery, it would still be my passion, because there's just not enough people out there who are willing to stick their necks out and let other people know, hey, you don't have to do this alone. We can work with you. We can get you the resources you need. So the work that I do right now, I run a program called Proect ASSERT. I run this program in one of the emergency rooms here in Lansing. And again, what we do is when people come in for a substance use related issue, whether it be needing detox, or they're picked up drunk and passed out, or they've had an overdose, or a lot of times the ER is the only place where people know to actually go and ask for help. When those people are identified, someone comes and grabs myself or one of my team, and we go out and we work with them. We interview them and we talk with them. We share a little bit of our story with them, and to let them know that they're not alone, and that we're not just some other doctor that's going to collect some blood and make them sit there for hours and hours and hours and never talk to them again, and then boot them back out on the street. That there's actually people there that do care, that do know what they're going through and can help. Myself and my entire team, we're all trained peer recovery coaches. We're all people in recovery. We're all used to navigating the systems. And so that our goal is not necessarily to get every person into residential recovery, but our primary goal is to make sure that every person that comes through the ER gets the adequate services that they need and gets the resources that they need. And if they need help accessing those resources, we help them access those resources. And we follow up with them after they leave the ER just to check on them and see how they're doing.
I just want to say I love you for doing this work. And the reason being, like when I walked into the emergency room and saw my daughter on life support, and then started interacting with the staff there, you could tell that some of them were just sick of seeing people that were overdosing.
It's another addict mentality.
Yeah.
This one's gonna die.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is that I've witnessed it, and I've started to get a little bit cocky because I call people out. I'm just like last week I heard a doctor. I swear I heard the doctor refer to the patient as a drunk. I was so mad. I turned around and I said, "What did you just say?" And he said, "I said she's drunk." And I was like, I misheard him, but I was so mad. I was ready to be like, just slamming my hand on the counter, but no, I misheard him. And I think I just might've been a little fired up because I get passionate about the work, but man, yeah, it's a tough habit to break. And it becomes habit in the ER because they are so, used to seeing it and overwhelmed with seeing it and stuff that they become desensitized to it. It's not an excuse though. It's not an excuse at all.
Well, you're there to help them do better.
I am.
And I'm glad you're there. And Shannon's saying the same. I just go through, Charlie again. I remember falling asleep in the booths and being woken up at close. My place was Coscarelli's, but they had a Pac-Man game. So it was good to play Pac-Man while some people were drinking beers.
I played pool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you good at pool?
I used to be pretty good at it. Probably not so much anymore. I don't play it a lot anymore.
That was maybe the one good thing about hanging out in a bar. You get good at pool.
Yeah. Pool and karaoke.
Okay. I'm not good at karaoke.
I wasn't either. But
also, I'll wait on that one for a second. What needs to change?
What needs to change? So I think one of the biggest things that need to change is people's attitudes about substance use disorder. So it's kind of multifaceted though. First of all, there's not enough education out there for the general public. Like most of the education that's out there is geared towards people either looking for recovery or in recovery. I think that if the general public maybe took the time to educate themselves and search for things, rather than walking down the street saying, "Oh, there's a crackhead," how about Google it and be like, so why do people become addicted to crack? How can I help somebody who's addicted to crack? What resources are out there that maybe I could give to somebody that's addicted to crack? I think if people were more proactive instead of reactive to substance use disorder, we might actually even be able to get a grip on some of this stuff. I think that's the biggest thing, honestly, and making sure that resources are available and people know how to use them. That's like the biggest thing. One of the main reasons why people come to the ER is because there are a bazillion resources out there, but people just don't know how to access them. So the safe place for them is the emergency room. And that's why my program works so well.
Do most of the people you see in that scenario, are they unhoused? Are they, I guess, struggling with everything else in their life too?
Yeah. So I think it can be seasonal, to be honest with you. I think that during the cold months, we get more unhoused individuals that come through. And a lot of that is because it's also a warm place for them to, to hang out while they're waiting to get help. But during the summer, I think that it's more of the housed, I would say. It's still hard to say because I'm screw it. I want to say equal. I think it's pretty equal.
And I guess the gist of my question was, sometimes it's hard. Like I've heard that if you've got insurance, you're probably not going to get into treatment. But if you don't have insurance, Medicaid probably is going to get you into treatment. Is that true-ish?
It is true. And I find that to be so weird. There are fewer places that accept actual insurance, like private insurance or company paid insurance or whatever, Then there's like this big of a bucket of Medicaid and this big of a bucket of private. So it does make it pretty difficult, but I will say that the majority of the people that we get are Medicaid funded. So, but yeah, I've always found that to be I do have a buddy though, if anybody's looking with private insurance, that is amazing at getting people with private insurance into rehabs.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. And that goes across the board to whatever substance.
Yeah.
And you work with whatever substance.
We
right?
do.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It's not just
primarily in the ER we see alcohol, but over this past week we've been seeing a lot of overdoses.
In the last week.
Yeah.
Heroin, fentanyl.
Yeah. I fielded 3 today.
Wow.
Huh?
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I know that it comes in waves, but I'm not sure what the real reasoning is behind the waves.
Yeah. So, what's the next question I should be asking? There's so many that I want to ask. Well, first of all, Shannon's saying who does the insurance. We can put that link or something there later, or So actually, something cool about my program too that I should have mentioned is we don't get paid. I mean, we get paid for doing the work that we do, but the patients don't pay to use us. Nobody pays. Our service is free in the ER. We're happy to do it, to be there. We're publicly funded as an organization. So it doesn't matter if they have Medicaid or anything like that. We don't deal with the insurance. The only reason why we need to know the insurance is to know where to funnel them through. I think maybe what Shannon's asking though is we get people in here that got a substance use problem and they have insurance and they can't get into treatment. Is there somebody that could help us with that, or your help? Obviously, we have Punks with Lunch here too, that you work with very closely.
Typically, if you call the access number on the back of the card, that access number can link you up to all of the available rehabs that take that particular insurance.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll look into that more.
Yeah. They can be a nightmare to talk to sometimes, but.
So there's a kid. His name's Robert Lopez. He made a comment. I'm going to show his thing here. It means a lot to me. I was pretty bad off alcohol, been sober for about 5 months. With great supportive friends. And he says, like me, this is somebody I've known since I was about 10 years old.
Right on, man.
So 45 years. We've been friends that long, Robert?
Cool, man.
But I think you're motivating him a little bit. So
good,
thank you very much
good,
for
man.
that.
Here's something that I like to tell everybody, especially the people that I work with in the hospital. And thank you for sharing that, man. That's pretty awesome. Is that recovery is possible for anybody, and it doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter like where you are at in your use. You can find recovery, and the cool thing about recovery is whatever it looks like to you. I can't tell you what your recovery looks like, just like you can't tell me what my recovery looks like. Recovery is when you say it is recovery.
So if I had 100 people in this room right now, and 100 honest people, and we asked, how many of you are affected in some way by substance use? How many people would raise their hand, do you think?
100.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I think that some of us don't even know it, that we're being affected by someone else's substance use, but I'm pretty sure that just about everybody in this room would be affected by it some way or another.
I used to do Narcan certifications in Eaton County, so old white people basically, and all the men would always separate at some point and say, well, I don't know anybody wherever I would ever need Narcan or whatever.
Do you know anybody who takes pain pills for chronic pain? Do you know anybody who takes any sort of narcotic opioid medications for anything? You need this Narcan.
Yeah,
basically.
As we start to wrap up, first of all, did we forget to cover anything that you wanted to cover?
I don't think so, man. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time today to let me come and talk, and also help me celebrate my 5 year achievement. 5 years isn't something that I ever really thought about, and or ever really knew was possible for me. And then adding the school thing on top of that, and then the job thing on top of that, man. I feel like I'm living high on the hog right now, and I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for you. I'm grateful for my best friend over there, Julia, and everybody out here, and giving me the chance to actually be who I truly am.
What's celebration look like these days?
You know what? The funny thing is I'm gonna go home. Andrew, my husband, is making dinner, and then he's like, "So what do you want other than dinner?" And I said, "I want cake." And that's such a recovery thing to say too, but I just want cake. Whatever they've got with buttercream, shove it in my face. I'll be good.
We have to give a shout out to Andrew too, right?
Hey,
for
yeah.
supporting you and being there with you and not giving up, I guess.
Yeah, he's a good man. He's definitely a good man, and he's been through everything with me. So thank you, Andrew. I love you.
So we've got Robert here real quick.
Yeah.
We've got people like him watching. We've got his family maybe watching. Sorry, Robert, I'm calling you out on it. And you have to come on the show, by the way. We've been talking about it for 2 years.
Yeah.
What's something simple people could do to either help themselves or help a loved one? Not simple. Something they could do today.
Something you can do today is don't shame them. One of the biggest factors of people not wanting to get help or relapsing over and over and over is shame and guilt. So if you can figure out any way to keep yourself from making your loved one, your friend, your neighbor, whoever it is, feel ashamed for their use, then I think that would go a long way. So and then just my general advice for anybody is just don't give up on yourself. If you're a person in recovery and you relapses happen, and we all know this. I relapsed multiple times before I finally got it right. But when you do relapse, don't hold it against yourself, because again, you're shaming yourself. And when you hold it against yourself, it's harder to pull yourself back up out of that relapse. If you're somebody seeking recovery, don't feel ashamed. Don't be ashamed, and don't be ashamed to ask for help, because most of the time we can't do it alone. So
I love you.
I love you, man.
I congratulate you.
Thank
you. This is awesome. Actually, we're going to give a quick hug here. Good job.
Thank you, man.
Proud of you.
Thank you.
And thank you so very much
I love you, Shannon.
And being on the show and telling your story.
Thanks,
and showing
man.
some vulnerability.
I'm glad it finally came.
So appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
I hope you have a wonderful cake.
Thank you. I'm going to.
All right, y'all. We love you very much. Be strong. Don't shame people. And if you have a setback, just keep on going. It happens.
It happens.
I love that advice. Cool. All right, y'all. We'll see you again tomorrow. Every damn day.